Welcome back to Takeout. What we're about to talk about next might be the most undercovered story of human misery on planet Earth. The United States is trying to get peace in Sudan. The civil war continues to rage as we speak. Explosions were heard today in the nation's capital, just a day after the country's paramilitary forces agreed, momentarily obviously, to a U.S.-backed humanitarian truce. Over the last 2.5 years, here's what I was driving at. More than 150,000 people have been killed, some 12 million displaced, half of them children, following the country's coup in 2021. I want to bring in Katy Crosby, Senior Director of U.S. Policy and Advocacy for Mercy Corps, provides humanitarian assistance in regions in crisis, and that most definitely includes Sudan. Katy, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Explain to my audience what's going on and what you're trying to do to help it out.
So as you mentioned, we've seen a civil conflict in Sudan over the last 2+ years. And throughout that conflict, more than 30 million people are now in need of humanitarian aid within the country of Sudan. This has crossed lines time and time again across all 18 states that are within Sudan. As you've mentioned, we've seen incredible displacement, people being forced to flee from their homes, many of them multiple times. So just when they thought that they were safe, they would have to flee again. And what's been incredibly challenging is the violence that we have seen, the siege tactics that have been used, and the deliberate obstruction of aid from being allowed to get into Sudan and throughout to Sudan to the people who need it the most.
How does that get in any way addressed or redressed? Getting aid in and assisting those who've been displaced, facing famine and worse.
So as you mentioned, there is a ceasefire deal on the table that we are hopeful about, and certainly any attempts to broker a ceasefire deal that all parties agree to is critical, and that needs to go from words to deeds. Even now, as we have seen this progress towards a potential ceasefire, at the same time, we've still seen drone strikes on civilian populations across the country. And so it can't just be words on a page or a partial agreement. There needs to be an immediate ending of the violence on the ground so that we can surge in the humanitarian aid that is so badly needed. And most of this aid is really being provided through local groups, soup kitchens, volunteers. They have really been the backbone of this response, especially in the hardest to reach places, the places where the lines of conflict have just not enabled either people or aid to get in.
There's a place called Al-Fashar. Where is it? What is it? And what's going on there? And what has you most worried?
So Al-Fashar is a city in the state of Darfur. And over the last 500 days, it has been under siege by the RSF, one side of the conflict. They have been shelling it with mortars. They have cut off all aid. Food has not been allowed in. Water has been cut off.
A straight-up siege. Nothing
just absolute
in, just
siege.
bombardment.
Just, medieval-style siege. And we saw that after over a year, this city has fallen. So RSF forces have come in, and people who are left in Al-Fashar now have to face another decision of whether to flee or whether to stay. And so many are trying to flee. We have seen horrific reports of mass killings, of men and boys being separated from women and children. And even the actual cost of trying to flee can be up to $500 per person just to get a seat on a truck or a donkey ride for part of the way.
And to be clear, they don't have $500.
They do not have $500. Not at all. Not even close. And as a result of that, some people have been held for ransom. They've been robbed on their way trying to leave Al-Fashar. One of our colleagues walked for 7 days trying to get to a safer place, literally counting bodies along the road that he was traveling on. And he was robbed. He was taken. All of his earthly possessions that he was still able to hold on to were taken from him before he showed up in a safer place.
Katy Crosby, I appreciate you coming in and letting us know about this. We're going to continue to keep an eye on it.
Thank you.